Welcome back to Primetime Crisis. I'm Captain Logan, and here's Rasco!
What up?
And today, Rasco and I are gonna chat with you a little bit about the three-part, but the CW wants you to think is a four-part crossover.
Yeah.
With the CW superhero shows. It's Invasion! And so the first thing we should talk about is the Supergirl component to this, I think. And this was, you know, we talked about maybe splitting this up into the different episodes like we usually do. And then Rasco and I decided that it was enough of a full-blown, you know, story, enough of one. I mean, we'll talk about that Arrow episode, but it at least between Flash and Legends, there's kind of a story, and so instead of talking about all the episodes separately, we thought we'd go ahead and talk together, especially because I wanted Rasco's perspective, not watching any of the other shows but Flash, and especially Supergirl. So, Rasco, had you already heard about the whole deal? Because a lot of people knew this already for some reason. Like, somebody in the comments last week was like, Captain Logan, I know you don't like spoilers, but you should know that it doesn't really start with a Supergirl episode. It's just the last 5 minutes they set it up, and it's not really, it's like the last minute and a half. And then we see the same scene in the Flash episode. But he was like, you know, you should probably know it doesn't really start there. Did you know that? Or did you go into Supergirl thinking you needed it?
No, I was duped. I was duped into thinking I needed Supergirl. They tricked me, and then I was trapped in the episode, and I had to finish it.
And how lost were you watching that?
Incredibly lost. I don't know what's going on in Supergirl. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes of Supergirl, and then I stopped.
That and probably nothing this season.
Yeah, nothing.
Because well, you probably didn't even know that Hank Henshaw was Martian Manhunter.
I knew that because I just, by like existing on the internet, it was eventually spoiled to me, but I mean, I knew that.
Okay. But like, here you've got the other Hank Henshaw, and, I mean, like, the real Hank Henshaw, and he's Cyborg Superman, even though he doesn't look like Superman at all. And, I mean, I've already talked about this episode this week because it was not part of the cross. I'm glad I did that, because, you know, us talking about it would be just me filling in the blanks for you, probably. And I said this in my video the other day, but I thought that was a pretty mediocre episode for this season, and so it kind of sucks that you jumped in with it, and it's especially weird because that's a big, you know, mythology-heavy episode for this season. It's not anything like a standalone. It's kind of the second part of a two-parter, or of even a, you know, an ongoing multi-part thing. So anyway, hilarious that you decided that you had to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So how irritated were you about that?
Irrited's not the word. Just completely uninterested is honestly the word that I would use. Like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not expecting this to have a whole lot to do with the other parts. So, you know, that little thing at the Thanksgiving dinner table where there's like the weird like warp hole opens up for a second. I was like, you know what? I have a feeling that will literally be the only thing that alludes to the crossover, and I was totally right, because by the end, that's pretty much all they did. They set up that Barry and Cisco would come over to Earth 3, is it? Is this Earth 3?
No, it's Earth, like, 60-something, I think it's like 38, they said? It's 30-something. Okay. Yeah. They picked an arbitrary number, unless they picked 38, because that's the year Superman starts in real life. They might have done that.
Okay.
If I'm right about that day. They drop it in that episode, I think. Or maybe they dropped it in the Flash episode, I forget.
Yeah, but I had a feeling that was probably going to be the only tie to the rest of the crossover, and I was right. So I was kind of like, yes, I got this prediction right, but sadly this prediction meant that I really had no reason to care about anything I was watching.
I want to know how many people, because I mean, a lot of people had to have been duped to watch that because it was called a 4-part crossover everywhere, including on the CW's website, which is where a lot of us are watching it now, since it's not on Hulu. That really irked me, and maybe is, I mean, like, obviously this is not us reviewing the episodes yet, even. That is the worst thing about this, is that they touted it up as a big 4-part crossover, and at the very, very least, if you are into Supergirl and engaged with that material, and you wanted to get to see these characters, the CW characters, interact at all with more of her world, you're really let down. And I found that to be a massive letdown, especially because it's an invasion, it's all about aliens, and we didn't bring over Martian Manhunter?
Yeah, I think that's how they're kind of tying it in. They're like, oh, it had aliens involved. It's Supergirl, aliens, heroes versus aliens. That's like what they've called it, I guess, on the website at least.
Yeah, and in the advertising, they shouldn't have called it that. They should have called it Invasion.
Yeah.
Because that's the name of the whole thing. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is a loose adaptation. Not even you can't even really call it an adaptation, I don't think. Of a late '80s mega crossover event. Not even mega, but a crossover event in DC that was drawn by Todd McFarlane of all people. And it's called Invasion with the exclamation point, and had the Dominators. And I thought it was really cool that they even thought to do that and use them. At first, I didn't realize that was a comic book thing, and I looked them up because I thought I maybe recognized them, because I've read like an issue of that, but it was forever ago. And that design is cool, and it was neat that they brought those over.
Yeah, I looked up the Dominators actually because I was curious as to whether or not that was an actual thing. So I just did a little bit of research just to learn about when they were created and stuff like that. But yeah, that was that's actually pretty cool, I think. Just to save it from being completely random generic green aliens. At least there's some sort of comic book tie there.
And they do feel kind of generic at first. I think less so by the end, even though that last episode's pretty convoluted with what they're doing and why and stuff. But we'll talk about all of that. But I do, and some of the CG is pretty shoddy. There's that one shot. I don't know if this bugged you like it did me, but there's that shot when they first showed the inside of the Dominator ship in the first episode, and they back off, and it looks so bad. It looks like PS2 graphics. It's really bad.
That happens on the series.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, but it was inconsistent because some of it looked okay. Like when they actually fought them, like hand to hand in Legends, that looked okay for these shows.
Yeah, that didn't look that bad. It's strange. There's like that one scene where the limos are being shot by the alien ships, and I forget what was going on in that scene. Do you know what I'm talking about? where the ship flies down and it's like shooting all of the black limousines. And
was that in Legends? Is that toward the end?
That might have been in a later episode. I'm getting confused. They're all bleeding together in my head.
Well, Legends is the last episode. That's why I'm asking.
It might have been in Legends. I'm not sure, honestly.
Anyway.
It was a very small scene, and I don't even remember the relevance of it. I just know that there was really bad CG in it for some reason.
I think it was that big climactic scene fight scene at the end, maybe. But yeah. But like I said, sometimes it was, and the thing is, like, we've been able to make Martian Manhunter look decent for TV. So the Dominators, there's no excuse, especially because you don't really have to make them talk because they're telepathic. So like, they open their mouths some, but you're able to cut a lot of corners. They don't have human-looking faces. Like you ought to be able to more or less, at least as compared to what you're doing with Martian Manhunter, kind of nail that.
It's weird. The CW is way better at making like CGI creatures. Like King Shark actually looks pretty decent.
I liked it, yeah.
They're way better at that than they are at like doing like people. Like, still to this day, Barry still looks, every time it goes into slow-mo on the Flash, it shows Barry, I laugh uncontrollably every time.
Can you believe they still, dude, they still,
every time.
all last year. See, I haven't gotten to talk about the Flash in a while because Rasco's been doing those vlogs. You're doing a wonderful job, Rasco. Thank you for doing those. But they all last season, the big thing I wanted to complain about, I should have done a rant on it, was maybe you brought it up too, I forget, but that thing toward the beginning of the season where Flash, I think it's in the first episode of last season, where Flash runs, it's the end of Superman Returns, right? He runs right up to the screen, and he's in slow motion, and the whole thing is animated, and his face is right up on the screen. It looks really super fake and terrible, and you're like, why didn't you shoot at least part of this in live action? And then every episode after that, they show it at the end of the recap!
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Every time, and maybe they showed it some this season too, I don't remember, but every episode last season they showed that. It drove me insane.
That's not even the worst example of it. The worst example is the one where he learns to do the supersonic punch to his bully. It's like 15 seconds of like slow-mo Barry Allen right up into the screen. It's hilarious.
You've got that weird bit in this where he runs over to two people and takes their guns away, or like he takes a bullet and he just like, I couldn't tell if he dropped it or put it in the guy's pocket or what he was even doing, and it was like, it looked like it was supposed to be like Quicksilver from Days of Future Past or something, where like it was supposed to be maybe kind of clever and he was like having fun with it and there was a personality, but he had like a scowl on his face and he was being really like dramatic Barry, and so I don't know what the point was of slowing that scene. That you should have just been like, he runs in fast motion to a guy and we slow it down for a second, he does his thing, and then he runs over the other one, but it almost felt like we were trying to pad the episode out.
Yeah, I would agree.
And there's quite a bit of that in these.
Especially in the Arrow episode.
yeah, especially. So anyway, before we get more into the episodes, just gotta say, the way they advertised this was simply wrong.
Agreed.
They shouldn't have done that. I don't like that. I'll be interested to see if it hurts their numbers for Supergirl at all, or if people just complain a lot, because they couldn't have gotten anybody. Like, if the tactic was get people who are watching the CW shows that are in the same universe but haven't been watching Supergirl to come over and watch Supergirl, I can't imagine that was effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it should have worked for that. They should have made this a real 4-part crossover. And at the very least, if it's going to be just 3 parts, first of all, don't show the same scene. Like, you can still have that scene at the end of Supergirl if you really want to, just for the sake of continuity, but, like, don't advertise it that way. Secondly, don't show us the same scene again in Flash.
Here's what's confusing about it.
Yeah.
When was so in the Supergirl episode, you know how we've already talked about when they're having Thanksgiving dinner and like the portal almost opens up in the middle of the table, and then later on Barry and Cisco actually come through. Why did the portal almost open up that one time? Was there like a time in the Flash episode where they like tried to go through the portal and then didn't, or something like that? I'm confused.
Well, he accidentally winds up there in the Supergirl episode last season. And here there's a throwaway line. My guess is, at least like tactically on the part of the writers and producers, it was, we've got to do that so it feels like a payoff, so people maybe will think it's clever or something, even though the whole rest of the episode is not Invasion. But, and I mean, like, I guess to their credit, at least it's not called that, but people aren't going to know, oh, it's called Invasion, so this isn't part of it, because the other episodes aren't out yet. But anyway, there was a throwaway line in Flash where Cisco says it may take a few tries. That's all you get.
All right.
And I don't know how long they were Here's the thing. I thought they, like... Does time move differently in her universe? There's a question. Right? Because when he says it's going to take a few times, didn't they stand there and say we're gonna open it up, it may take a few tries? An entire episode of Supergirl happens in the span of they're just standing there, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think
it must. I mean,
because he goes because of course Cisco's all on about Barry changing the future with or the present with Flashpoint, and he's angry with him for the death of his brother, and they're laying that on real thick. And he's like I'm only doing this because we need to save the world. So but we're not friends. And then when they finally go through, that's we're still doing that whole thing and continuing that whole thread. So I have to assume that he just tried to open it a couple times and they went through. So is time moving that she should be aging differently? I don't know what's going on with that. Unless there's something I missed and more time passed than I realized there. But
yeah, I'm confused by that as well.
But anyway, that's weird. One of my biggest complaints about this, and we'll get to some positives. Let's just lay this out real fast. I watched this twice. I liked it better on a second viewing. I think it watches better altogether. And you said you watched it that way.
Yeah, I did.
I watched it in 3 days. But when I finally sat down and watched it all together and had seen it through once, it was a little more enjoyable. I thought there was certainly some entertainment fact, at least as much as I ever enjoy Flash and Legends. Like, this is a good Legends episode is how I feel about it. Like really the whole thing together. It's about as good as your best Legends episode, which probably sounds like a huge kind of slight against it. Honestly, it's not a good Flash episode. It's not a good Arrow episode. I don't think so. But there are some things I like about it. But overall, yeah, was not real impressed. Especially because of how hard it was touted up. And I think there's some real sloppy stuff here, even for these shows.
Yeah, I agree. I must say, I think I liked the Flash episode the best. That's probably just because Flash is the show that I'm watching.
Yeah.
But like the Arrow episode, I think is probably the I think the Arrow episode is really, really bad.
I do too. Yeah, we'll get to that. I think the Legends episode is the best of the three. Partly because it's just it's wrapping up all of the plot threads. So it's weird comparing them because you want it to be one fluid story, so you wouldn't talk about it like that and break it up that way. But the Flash episode is a Flash episode, but it's also partly a Legends episode.
Yeah.
So they do this weird thing with this, right, where we only deal with the characters that were introduced in a show, for the most part, in an episode. So in Flash, they feel like they can go ahead and do some of the stuff with furthering Stein's story from Legends before we get to Legends, because he's also a Flash character. Seems to be kind of the logic they're going with. Then in Arrow, we only abduct characters that were introduced in that show. And we have this kind of BS explanation as to why we only grabbed humans, or that's why it was only them. It was like, well, it's only humans, because they're trying to make like a differentiation, between the kinds of shows they're making. So the Arrow characters have to be more weirded out by the aliens because it's supposed to be a more street-level show, even though the last season was all about magic. And that's a whole thing. And then when you get to Legends, it's about, what I was going to say is, so in the Legends episode, it's all about the Legends for the most part, but they beam up just humans as an excuse to make it Arrow characters and Arrow introduced characters, and they say it's so that they can get information from them about the metahumans. They give us that in Legends, and I'm like, then why didn't you beam up metahumans? Unless you didn't think that you could keep them, sedated or whatever because they have powers. Like, if they can just go around and beam up anyone, and then put them I don't know if there's any space between beaming them up and putting them in the Matrix. Yeah. Oh, I thought that too. I really wanted the Black Cat moment. I really wanted deja vu. Oh, there's another Black Cat. There's another Black Canary. But if you can just, because I'm assuming there's really, from the perspective of everybody that gets put in the perchance to dream scenario, because that's all that is, just perchance to dream done poorly, from Batman the Animated Series. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great episode.
It's that episode. I really wanted Oliver to open up a book and not be able to read it.
It's that episode, maybe, and I stress the maybe part because it's maybe what they want their lives to be or something like that. But what is it? And that's why the Arrow episode is an episode of nothing. It reveals nothing because none of it's real. And
it reveals nothing.
Know if it's their fantasies or like what their lives would have been. You have no idea what you're actually seeing either.
And it's nothing for the Arrow audience. It doesn't move us. It doesn't move these stories with these characters along at all. We do with Flash and Legends, which is one of the best things I can give it, is that we're at least progressing some story with these episodes. But I think I would have much rathered a cohesive 3-part story or 4-part story with all these characters that maybe is about some of those same things, but is easy to jump in and jump out of, kind of like Absolute Justice was in Smallville.
Were you aware that this episode of Arrow, I think, is episode 100?
Which explains why they felt the need to do all the throwback stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because it's a love letter to their show, and it's almost like I'm supposed to pat them on the back for remembering what happens in their own show.
Yeah.
They bring back some actors we haven't seen in a long time. That's kind of fun. It was nice to see Moira's actress again. There's things like that. There's and I will give it. We're jumping around a lot. And then I'm going to tell you why the Beamy thing is stupid. But it is. There are a couple of references to things that are kind of fun. I like that. I mean, it sucks that we couldn't get Manu Bennett back with Deathstroke, but like it's just doing a Deathstroke match, which is not the first time we've done that really. So he's fighting Deathstroke at the end, and he actually shoots him in the eye this time.
Yeah.
Which I love because in the flashback that explains to us in season 2 how he lost his eye, Oliver picked up an arrow and shoved it into his eye. And I think it might have even been the wrong eye. I can't remember now. I forget what my whole thing was with that. But like, it was fun to get to see him actually shoot him in the eye finally.
Yeah.
But anyway, that whole thing was just a whole bunch of, wink, wink, nod, nod. Look! References to things in our show!
And things not in their show. Did you notice the Superman Returns joke in Legends?
Yes, I did. Yeah. That was ridiculous.
I could not handle that.
And what drives me crazy about that is, so what we're talking about is, if you missed it, is there's this moment where, toward the end, and I don't know why you didn't think of it before. Oh, it's because she's wearing her glasses. That's what it is. And Ray looks at Kara and he says, by the way, why is she worried about her? Why is she wearing her secret identity right then?
I don't know. Wouldn't it be useful for you to not reveal your secret identity to this Earth?
Well, of course, they always do that, right? As soon as they walk in, Barry introduces her as Kara Danvers, a.k.a.
everybody here's her identity,
a.k.a. Supergirl, which was kind of a weird line reading, but okay. And so I'm gonna nitpick this. This is such a stupid. People are gonna complain in the comments when I nitpick this, and I know this is stupid, but this is what I thought, so I'm gonna mention it. He goes Supergirl instead of just Supergirl, which kind of is a thing you would only say if there was a super something else first, right? Yeah. Like if you're in a world with Superman, you might be like, look, I get she's super also, she's Supergirl, but like, they don't even know what Superman is, so it's weird. The line delivery was weird, and whatever. That's not important. It's not a big deal. But anyway, so at the end, he's like, she kind of looks like my cousin, and it took me 2 watches to realize what they were doing with that, because of course Brandon Routh played Superman, and Kara is Superman's cousin. There are people who are going to infer that somehow or rather, there's a Supergirl on this Earth, and that's his cousin.
They've connected the Christopher Reeve Superman to CW.
Why would you do that? Like, you could come up with some kind of a creative way, maybe, to acknowledge that he played Superman.
Maybe.
Maybe. Like,
my suit
when he was in
something.
when he was in shock, Yeah, see, I wouldn't like that either. When he was in shock, there's this cool line when he's initially introduced, where and this was, obviously much sooner after Superman Returns, and it was one of the first things he did after that. And there's this line where he says, where he takes somebody out with a gun, and he says, "I don't like guns," and he says it in a really style like Superman. I loved that. Like that was cool. There are ways to do it, but I really love Brandon Routh just coming in going, "I don't like guns." Like that worked. But anyway, I digress. Oh boy, and there's a lot of other things about that scene I want to talk. Okay, so let me talk about the Dominator Beamy thing for a second. So, my assumption is that there is, from the perspective of everybody that's put into the Matrix, no time that passes between being abducted and being put into that stasis. So, because they don't remember being put there or anything. It's just they very quickly start to remember their real lives in a really easy TV way. In Perchance the Dream, he just knows his real life, and then, oh, I'm in this other place, but I'd love to live here. That's probably what it should have been, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But anyway, so I might be wrong about this, but I'm just assuming that there's no time, like they're incapacitated from the moment they're beamed up would be my guess. And the reason that's important is because if I'm right and that's the case, shouldn't their plan be beam up all the metahumans and then put them in stasis, and then murder them, put them in space, take them to another planet, drop them off there? Like, there's nothing stopping them from flying all over the planet, beaming up all the metahumans, if they can figure out who all the metahumans are.
Yeah. Also, it's they don't ever show them getting out of their weird Matrix pods either, right?
I think they just kind of pop up.
It's so funny because when they're in the dream world, and Oliver has that big dramatic scene that goes on forever where he's talking to Thea, he's like, "Thea, we're leaving," and Thea's like, "I want to stay here," only to literally in the next scene change her mind after giving an emotional speech
with no impetus for it whatsoever. It's over a commercial break, and it's hilarious. It's like somehow, while the CW was selling me the shows I'm watching, she was changing her mind.
Yeah, there's a missing scene. But what's funny is, it's how I imagine it. It's like, even if she had said, "No, I want to stay here," when they wake up out of their Matrix pods and they look over at her body, they're not just gonna be like, "Well, she has to stay here. We're just gonna leave her and continue to fight against the aliens and blow up this spaceship." No, they would just take her. So she was never going to be able to stay there forever in the first
And they should have known that, because for a second I thought maybe they didn't know what was going on. The very next scene after they start to figure it out, he's like, "The Dominators." I'm like, okay, so you know what's going on, which means you can't possibly think that they're just going to keep her in stasis like that forever. And then he's like, "I want you to be well," and I'm like, that's not what being well means. Like that. Yeah. Oliver Queen through this whole thing is so all over the place. He is all over the place. Okay. Before we get to that, let's talk about Supergirl and how much she does not matter.
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm just here for the ride.
And she gets benched half the time.
Yeah.
And that's part of Oliver making no sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh boy, I hated that scene so much. Almost as much as I hated the "let's elope even though we're supposed to get married in an hour" scene.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know what that was. He's like, "I need to be with you right now." I'm like, well, there she is. And you're about to get married, and somebody explain this to me, because I don't understand. Because then, as they're talking, it's not like they're going to run away together. They're still talking about his taking over Queen Consolidated and living the life they were going to live. And so I don't understand that. It's like, well, you just want to ignore what you think you know and live this life. So do that then. There she is. Get married. I don't understand. I mean, if he was like, "Look, everyone's here already," I kind of get his line when he's like, "I'm afraid I'm going to give it up," because he's got the responsibility versus what he really wants, and he knows this isn't real. And the whole thing is it's flimsy, but the whole thing is supposed to be about Oliver Queen, embracing his sense of responsibility and being more selfless and being the hero first, and he's always going to have to be Green Arrow first, and that's what it's supposed to be about. And so. And I gotta say, I do really like the exchange at the bar at the end.
Yes,
in Legends.
I was going to say
I
that,
like
yeah.
it a lot. Where they both say, you know, we could, like we're afraid we're causing more harm than good. We could have had more normal lives, but we feel the need to do our best and try, and that makes our lives more full. Oh boy, I like that. That's the best thing in it for me. But in that scene, like, I would have kind of understood it if it was like all the guests are here, let's get married right away. But I didn't know what he was talking about with the eloping thing, and he just keeps saying things that make no sense all the way through.
Yeah, very confusing. Also, here's something I don't understand about the smoke building.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, let's just get into that. I'm sorry, guys. We are all over the place. But yes, go ahead. Sure, let's get into that.
Felicity doesn't know, like, why that building's there. Diggle says something like that, right? He's like, like a building
Felicity
you don't recognize.
never owned, and that's a thing. I feel like something massive is missing, because the smoke technologies thing is an alternate future thing. We've seen that. Where did it come from? Did it come from somebody's mind? If they, because here's the thing. They beamed up Ray Palmer, and he went to a future where Oliver was old and missing his arm, and the Smoke Technologies building was there, and he was afraid that his life didn't amount to anything because Ray Palmer's name's not even on the building anymore. If I remember correctly, that's the whole idea. So it probably came from his subconscious. That's never talked about. We're never told that. Where did it come from? That's the only thing that makes any sense.
It should also shatter the illusion immediately if Felicity doesn't know why it's there. Like, oh, this building with my last name on it. I should Google this. I didn't know that I potentially ran this company. Like, that should immediately shatter the illusion of the dream.
And we're told Ray Palmer is trying to buy out Queen Consolidated. So where's his building? What is he doing? Like, is Palmer Tech also there somewhere? We see the Merlin building.
Yeah.
So anyway,
where was Tommy Merlin?
Okay, so I've got a theory. First of all, at the end, because I wondered that, and for a second I thought maybe he was there and I missed him. I don't think he was. At the end, they've got that weird shot where he turns back and he remembers important things people have said to him.
Force ghosts appear.
Yeah, and are they all of dead people? I think they are all of dead people. I didn't even put that together until just now.
I think Roy was there.
Oh yeah, Roy's not dead.
But Roy was like not real. It was like if you go back and watch that, maybe I'm making this up, but it really looked like they took a picture of his head and just fucking posted over someone else's body.
Well, maybe that's what they did with Tommy. Because my question was, did they get Tommy back to stand there? I'm assuming they did.
I think he was there. Because he said he had the line. Remember the episode where it's like a Christmas Carol?
No, I know he was there, but what I'm saying is, did they get the actor back to stand there? I don't think they did.
I don't know.
Because you're saying they did it with Roy, and if they had done that, wouldn't he have been in the episode?
He was standing there, and it goes by him fast enough to where maybe it wasn't his face.
But Roy was standing there too, and you don't think he was actually there, and that's why I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's possible. I don't know.
I don't know either. My theory about that is that either they can't get that actor back because he's on another TV show, because I know he's on another show, or he really is the big bad guy this season, as a lot of people have been. What is it? Prometheus. A lot of people have been speculating that he's Prometheus, and maybe they don't want to use him here because they don't want people to think, oh well, the actor is here. So, but I doubt that's it. In fact, that would be a good red herring. I almost think you'd want to put him there.
Yeah, that would be.
Especially because we haven't talked about Tommy Merlin all season, and it would make for inherent foreshadowing.
But every character comes back.
I know, but the more I'm thinking about it. Well, generally speaking, except we never bring Deathstroke back, and except for his mask, and we and if the guy who plays Tommy doesn't have time and is on another TV show, we may never see him again.
Bye, Tommy.
Yeah. No, I feel that way about it too. But anyway, because I like him.
Yeah, he's good.
And I've been on the side of
if I was up to date on Arrow, maybe I think it's cool too.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Well, he's doing a lot of things having to do with the past, like with first season, because they're trying to bookend it real hard, and they're succeeding to various degrees on that. But like okay, I'm explaining something to Rasco now about Arrow. But he's killing people on that are like that have names with letters switched around from people from the Notebook from first season.
Oh.
It's like anagrams of those people, and then he's this Prometheus, and he's also taking arrows that Oliver has dropped in his fights throughout the years and turning them into other weapons. Like melting them down and putting them. So he's got to have a big beef with Oliver from going back, and that's why a lot of people. That's one of the reasons people think that it's Tommy. But that I don't know. That whole thing is so funny because he's he's taking the arrows, and he knows about the Notebook, and it's an episode after Oliver finds out about those things before it even dawns on him that Prometheus might know his secret identity. And you're like, well, yes, of course he would have. But anyway, yeah, the smoke building thing was ridiculous. They're like, we have to have that one weird thing there that's a tell. But what is the point of that when everyone's getting their memories back just by like memory triggers?
Yeah. It's like designed to fail. It's like the aliens programmed their machine to not work.
And again, as you said, we don't know if the aliens even know what they're seeing, or if they put that together on purpose or anything. We don't know what it is exactly.
But like I said, you don't know what it is. Like you don't know what it is. Is this supposed to be like what they personally desire? Because I don't think that's the case, especially with someone like Ray there with Felicity, and that's obviously that's not what he really desires.
That's not what Diggle would want.
Yeah.
Like, Diggle wants to be a hardened crime fighter with no family, and how did he become the Arrow? I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, that whole situation was just absolutely preposterous.
Yeah, it can't be what they would have been like, because Diggle would not become the Green Arrow. But that he wouldn't even have any reason to know of. Like, we'd have no reason to use the color green. He wouldn't have any reason.
Yeah, he wasn't on the island. You know,
yeah.
I mean, you could have done some cool psychological thing with he's always wished he was Oliver Queen, but that doesn't come from any place.
Yeah,
so
that would just be really,
I don't think that would really work. Yeah, so no, that would work. There was a weird bit in when Oliver goes to their headquarters. I don't know how he found it. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if there's something there and I missed it. But anyway, so he goes into their headquarters, and it's the set we have built now. I guess he's gone through about everything Oliver has, and they've gone through a couple of bunkers, and now they're in this one. And he walks in, and they almost have a fight. Like, Oliver grabs his arm, and he says, "John." He's like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "John Diggle," and he's like. By the way, the writing throughout this is all over the place. For the most part, dialogue is just atrocious through most of this. Really. And I mean, like, I don't mean to be too hard on it. It's not good. It's so sloppy. He grabs his arm. He goes, "Your name is John Diggle." And without any other information coming out, Diggle says, "How do you know these things?" These things, like, how do you know what my name is? Like, some folks might think that I'm nitpicking. That is really shoddy writing, right?
He knows my name.
How do he knows? He knows my first name is John and my last name is Diggle. How do you know these things? And then right after that, because that's not the reason I brought this up. Right after that, he goes, you were in the military, or no, you were my bodyguard, and he goes, and he said something about the military, and he's like, oh, you're thinking my brother Andy, he's in the military, and he gives away like what group he was with, and I'm like, but John, you don't have to divulge this information. You were also in the military. I don't know why he said so. I don't know. That's just an example of the weirdness of the writing in this episode. Like I said, I don't get Oliver at all. What is the... Okay, so I wanted to talk about Supergirl. Let's go back to that. What is the normalcy speech? What is that about? He's like, okay, I'm drawing the line somewhere. Too many weird things have happened to me since the Dominator started attacking, and I need you to not be involved in this fight because I guess you're an alien with superpowers, and that's just too weird for me right now.
You're a weirdo. You're just weird. But Barry, I'll give him a speech on how it's okay to mess with the timeline and get people's family members killed, but you're weird.
Oh yeah, wasn't that great?
Wasn't that great? Not Oliver speech I've ever heard Oliver give, I think.
Yeah, and this whole thing is supposed to be about, you know, Barry facing the consequences, but he's being of creating Flashpoint. And you and I haven't had a chance to talk about Flashpoint and how super lame I think that is. But he's like, for the record, I have not loved Flash this season. It's had its moments. There's things I've really liked. There's HR is great, but how we get him is so stupid. But I love the ongoing joke of we love Tom Cavanaugh too much, so every season he'll play a totally different character.
I like that. That needs to stay.
I do like that. The whole we miss Wells, so we have to go find one is so silly.
It's like a dating app.
They should have made it a game show. It's like they go find go find Harrison Wells show. Anyway, I want his middle name to start with G so badly. The more I'm thinking about it, because then he could be H.G. Wells. Okay, so, what was I talking about? So we have Oliver. The whole thing is supposed to be him like facing the consequences for what happened with Flashpoint, and finally, because these people never, even though they know each other, they never call, they never write. they only talk to each other when they cross over in these episodes. So Diggle is finally being told, "Oh, you had a daughter, but now you have a son," and in that Flash episode, Oliver is, while this is all about the consequences, is, as you say, telling Barry that, well, we all make choices, and sometimes we mess up, and this isn't, you're not God, he says. That bothered me. He was like, Barry, you're not a God, Barry. All the decisions we make affect people's lives. Yeah, but he was playing God. Like, that's not a normal decision. Like you're playing God by trying to go back and change things without any thought to what it would do to other people. Which is what we do in Legends every week, and it doesn't hurt anyone except for when we want it to. This whole thing is so much worse if you've been watching Legends. It's so much worse.
I've not.
No, I know. Oh, I know. I'm just letting you know. It's so much worse.
What bothered me so much about the whole Barry messing with the timeline thing is how we fix Barry and Cisco's relationship by the end by just going, well, no, everybody just doesn't think about the consequences of time travel and messing with it, so it's okay because we all don't think about these things, right? Yeah. Instead of holding yourself to a higher standard, everyone just lower your standards for responsibility.
Which
so we're all okay.
Which is so funny in a meta-contextual way when you look at what I feel like you kind of have to do to enjoy these shows.
Yeah.
Sometimes just how I feel about it. Yeah. I did not buy Cisco. Okay, first of all, the whole idea of I go back in time travel and feel like this is a necessary thing to do, so I don't want to be a hypocrite when I come back when I accidentally mess something up. I could kind of see it if the reason Barry had gone back in time in the first place had been more selfless. The problem is where we started Flashpoint from. We just had him do the thing that he had grown up and matured enough to be sure not to do a couple seasons earlier. Or a season earlier. That's all we did. So like part of this problem is Flashpoint, but we're just making that worse. So we're just exacerbating that problem. I didn't buy that Cisco would go back or want to go back in time.
I know! That's the whole thing. I'm like, Cisco, like, wake up, buddy. You're doing things that you're getting mad at other people for doing. You're doing the exact same things. Like,
you remember
taking the same risk.
You remember last year, and you complained about this with Caitlin too, and you're so right about it, that for some reason we got to be all super melodramatic about anybody that we know that suddenly gets superpowers in these shows, with the exception of Wally, who we should talk about. Because that whole thing is also kind of interesting. But we, and I mean, like everyone else is freaking out. Wally is doing what you would expect Cisco to do, which is, oh, cool, I have superpowers, right? I can go save the day. I can help out. Like, I'm so sympathetic in a way. I mean, he's kind of whiny, but I'm kind of sympathetic toward Wally when he's like, how come I don't get to be a superhero? I don't understand that. Why does Barry get to do that, not me? So everybody else, when they get superpowers, they lose their minds. And you talked about that last year with Cisco, and it's the same thing with time travel, right? Where it's like he gets like we're not thinking about what this character would actually be thinking, right? So maybe last year, I guess the point I'm trying to make is Cisco should be excited to get superpowers. Last year, Cisco should be excited to time travel, but not after what happened to his brother.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. He's like, we do whatever we think for the moment makes for the best drama, or like inherently is part of the archetype of that character. So like, oh, he's a nerd, he should be excited about time travel. It's like, yeah, but look at what has happened. He should be worried that if they went back in time, they would mess up things, and he shouldn't like the time ship. He should be like that whole like funky fresh thing. I hated that, by the way. Just like that whole that irked me. That bit with him and Felicity walking down the hallway. Like, okay, the whole they're geeking out and stuff. Like fine. Usually they would do that, but I'm not buying it with Cisco right now. He should be really anti-time travel at the moment.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like. That's why that like irritated me the entire way through. From like moment one that he's like, yes, this is what I will spend this episode doing as my task. And then when he gets back and he's like, the whole time I've been getting mad at Barry for what he did, but now I'm done things too. Oh my God. Did we even get a conversation between the two of them at the end of the at any point in that episode after that?
No, it was just that bit where he goes, Barry, you're my friend. You know, that's the whole paying that whole thing off, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Cisco, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
I need someone to explain Caitlin to me.
I don't understand Caitlin. I also don't understand her powers. I don't understand why she's evil. One, everyone that's turned evil has gotten their powers from I thought like how it worked was that like Magenta got her powers from alchemy, and for some reason, actually no, I'm wrong about that. That was never mind. I'm getting confused on why Caitlin's evil. Besides, like when she uses her powers and why she can't use her powers because of that. Like when she keeps the bracelets on, her powers just don't affect her. She can't use them, and she's fine.
And she's
when
normal.
She starts using her powers, she turns evil, I guess. But why? Like, is it because her personality turns cold because that's what her powers do? It cannot be that, because we use cold as like that. It's not being literal when we talk about personality being cold.
We can't be that literal. I mean, you can do a Mr. Freeze thing where you have a character who has a motivation for being cold, and that's reflected in the name of the supervillain and their powers, or in Mr. Freeze's case, his suit and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't make sense with Caitlin. Here's what I don't get. All of a sudden, like in this episode, I felt like we were interpreting what had happened to her when she went all Killer Frost in the episode Killer Frost differently than what I saw. What I saw was a girl who's afraid she's going to go evil, so she kind of overcompensates. And she just assumes she's gonna go evil, so she starts taking advantage of people and stuff because she's desperate. She's trying to get rid of her powers, and because she has seen Killer Frost from Earth 2 and Earth 2, yeah. And so she's like, well, I guess I'm evil now, and she's throwing herself into that, and she's like, Barry, I will kill you. Don't think I won't kill you. And then in that moment, Barry convinces her, no, you don't have to be evil. And then she's like, and then she loses that facade. I'm not saying it's real well done. I had issues with it, but that's what I thought I was looking at, was someone who was embracing her evil because she thought she had to, because she was told she would, and so it's become a fate versus free will problem. Here we're told it's multiple personalities. That's not what happened. It was not multiple. I'm afraid she's going to come out again. No, she was you, and you decided to stop acting that way. It's not a case of multiple personalities.
It's
right?
Weird.
Or am I wrong?
When I watched the episode, for me, it was somewhere in the middle, and I knew that they weren't going to decide, so I chose.
Okay.
So they treat it as if, like, there might be a part of Caitlyn that's leading her down this way, but it's, like, intensified by the fact that her powers just naturally make her cold. I don't know, because they do such a blatant, like, her
and so
eyes
when
are
she's
completely white.
You're right. So when she stops
using
using her powers, now she's Caitlyn again. Boy, they didn't make that clear enough if that's what it's supposed to be. And it should be more disturbing than it is if that's the case, because it's basically dissociative, personality disorder, right?
Yeah, and in that episode, in the Killer Frost episode, Barry should have been like, she's completely crazy. Like, she is not in control of herself.
Yeah.
It can't be like every other metahuman, because I guess other metahumans just become bad people for some reason. Like, power corrupts them, or maybe just so happen bad people get metahuman powers.
It's Smallville. It's exactly the Cryptofreak issue, right? It's that most of them. Oh no, this is such a big thing I have with Cryptofreaks and with Smallville. Boy, when I get to season 4, we're gonna really dissect this whole thing. But Flash is doing it too, where we're told. Well, basically, like, most of the people who get superpowers are villains because, we need villains in our show. So we have this easy contrivance. We have this easy, light switch we can turn where these people are evil. And then you have the token ones every now and again that becomes heroes instead of villains. And then here we start acting like maybe the power corrupts people, even though, and we're not talking about a case by case enough. So even though some people get to choose, other people don't, but we talk about it like for everyone that happens except for the ones that it does. I mean, we're using Caitlyn as like a special case, but we're not talking about what's different about her powers versus anybody else's powers. And I should mention that in Smallville it's way worse, where there is an episode where we basically say, we have this episode where Lana's like, I think it's in season 4, where she's like, maybe it's 3, it's like, well, these people get powers, and then they go crazy, and they come and try to kill me. Except for all the people that get powers and are not corrupted by it. So it cannot decide because it needs an excuse to create antagonists.
And now that Caitlyn has learned to, like, come back from being Killer Frost, one thing that I'm confused about is her mother tells her in the one episode where she has to visit her mother's laboratories or whatever, and her mother goes, the more you use your powers, the harder they will be to reverse. How do you know that if you can't reverse the powers? Wouldn't you have to first be able to reverse the powers to know that by using them more, it's more difficult to reverse them? Like, I don't understand how that makes any sense.
Yeah, I have no idea how she. Yeah, I don't know how she knew that either. So anyway, so we got Caitlyn there, and it's a Flash episode. She's got to be there, but she doesn't get to use her powers and be Killer Frost because we've said that turns her evil. Okay, and we don't really do anything with her throughout this except to have her kind of give a pep talk to Cisco, like, well, you guys should be friends. You can work through this and all of that.
And she's with. Are we talking about in a specific episode or in total? Because she also accompanies Firestorm. I can't think of the professor.
Oh, yeah, Stein. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Stein. She goes with Stein
in
his
Legends.
To his house.
Yes.
And it's like one of those things where it's so unbelievable. They showed up, hi, bye, and they left. And, like, they don't have another conversation about the weirdness of that interaction until much later, when it's like, you guys would have been in a car and you would have been driving home and you would have had time to been like, hey, why were you just so awkward? Why did you bring me here to your house to literally just come back to, like, just to literally leave a moment later?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That conversation would happen right there, not like 30 hours later when they're in when they're like working on some other thing in the laboratory and like what's going on?
Well, and we do some really silly, weird time jumps and stuff. Like we're just anything that doesn't happen on screen, like just doesn't happen. Like all the and you always complain about it. You're so right about it, and you are the master at picking up on those. That is the most fun thing, by the way, about watching your reviews, is you pick up on all of those things. My favorite thing. This isn't exactly the same kind of scenario, but oh boy, I didn't notice this until the second time. So Cisco and Felicity are like, we've got a damaged spaceship from the Dominators that we know nothing about. We can fix that. And then commercial break, or a scene later. I think there's a commercial break, and then we've cut all the way to we've already fixed it. We flew off. We saved the Dominator. We got we got a device from him to communicate with him, and now we're pen pals.
It's like I'm willing to bet as much of the plot. Did you notice that? I'm willing to bet that as much of the plot happened during the commercial breaks as much as we saw. Like, just as much story happened off screen as on screen. And
it's always been ridiculous how fast Cisco can make anything. This has always driven me absolutely up the wall. And when did he have time to make the portal jumper? When did he have time to make that thing? He's like, Kara, I made you a present. She's like, oh, for me? What does it do? Well, it slices, dices, makes great julienne fries, lets you go back and forth between dimensions, and I put a communicator in it. In like 6.5 seconds. Like, I cannot believe how easy we make all that, and that it's supposed to just be okay. It's so cartoony. It's really funny. I mean, like, it takes longer for Billy Cranston to make stuff in Power Rangers. Like, a lot longer. Okay, but can you believe that? We're gonna fix a spaceship. Done. He already does that with making cold guns and stuff. It's like, I'm gonna make some alterations to your suit, Ray. Oh yeah? I just blinked. How come the alterations haven't been made yet?